What's good, people? Thank you as always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Decisions, people. Dillian Whyte has a few very big decisions to make in the coming weeks, right? He has a fight penciled in, I think, for the second or first week in July. And what we now, April 6th. And as of yet, we don't have an opponent, which isn't a bad thing. Opponents are normally kind of released, 7 to 8 weeks before a date. So he still has a few weeks left. But as we stand right now, there is now becoming a lack of opponents, right? There are no opponents, so he could be forced to almost fight someone that he doesn't want to fight. His peers, and someone called it a big five the other day. I don't know if it is a big five. Can we call it a big five? Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Joshua, Usyk, Dillian Whyte. I don't know. I still think it's a big three, but I think Usyk could add his name to it if he puts on a very good performance against Takam. Is that unfair on POVETKIN and Ortiz? I'm not sure, but anyway, so of that big five, if we are going to call it a big five, 4 of them have already laid their cards out, right? We know who they're fighting. Joshua's going to fight Miller, Wilder's going to fight Brazil, Fury's going to fight Tom Schwartz, and Usyk is going to fight Takam. The thing that stands out when I mention all those fights, and it should stand out for you guys as well, is that all those other guys are taking the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 10th option, right? They're all taking the easier option from what we thought or hoped they would do, right? We hoped we'd see Wilder versus Fury again. Fury takes on Tom Schwartz. We hoped we'd see maybe Joshua versus Dillian Whyte or Joshua versus Wilder. Joshua takes on Jarrell Miller. We hoped, and this is not down to Usyk's fault, but we hoped that Usyk would fight POVETKIN, right? Usyk takes on Takam. So everyone's taken an easier option. Again, some not their doing, some forced on them. Deontay Wilder's mandatory is Brazil. Usyk wanted POVETKIN, but nonetheless, they're all taking an easier option. So if you're Dillian Whyte, what should you do? Whyte probably thinks he's guaranteed a title shot after his next fight. So do you roll the dice and fight a POVETKIN or Ortiz, or do you do what your peers are doing and take the easier option? Well, we kind of know where Whyte's thinking is now, because Whyte did make an offer to Manuel Charr. I didn't think he wanted that offer to go public, but it did go public. Manuel Charr spoke about it and said that, I think he said Dillian Whyte's irrelevant. Obviously, Dillian Whyte wasn't happy with that, but we know he made an offer to Manuel Charr. I did a video about 2 weeks ago, and I said that Eddie Hearn had listed the 4 possible opponents that could fight Dillian Whyte. Those 4 were POVETKIN, Ortiz, Caballero, Manuel Charr. And on that video, I said that they're probably going to go for Manuel Charr, but that's the worst possible opponent. So we know what Dillian Whyte's doing. Dillian Whyte's following what the other guys are doing. He's saying, fuck that, I'm not going to risk if you're not risking. And the other guys aren't really risking. I mean, some people might say Wilder is risking against Brazil. They're all risky fights, but let's be honest, they're the easier option compared to what they could have done, right? Problem is now, Manuel Charr has turned that fight down. Manuel Charr has turned that fight down. Manuel Charr, it looks like, will fight Trevor Bryant, right? Trevor Bryant's the interim WBA, I believe, heavyweight champion. Manuel Charr's the regular. So that's good in the sense that we get rid of one of those stupid belts that the WBA have. I think it's the WBA. So that's a fight that's probably going to happen. So what are the options now? Caballero, POVETKIN, Ortiz. Dillian Whyte might be forced to take a fight he doesn't want to take. Dillian Whyte might be forced to fight POVETKIN or Ortiz. I say he doesn't want to take. He will fight them, happily fight them. I don't think Dillian Whyte's scared of anyone. But his management and the people behind him will probably be thinking, you are rolling the dice here. Which is why they made an offer to Manuel Charr. Because of all those 4, let's be honest, Manuel Charr is definitely the easiest. And that's no disrespect to Manuel Charr. He just is, right? Caballero was still fresh. Manuel Charr has been through the grind. And he's been out the ring, I think, for 2 years. That's an easy fucking fight for Dillian Whyte. The rest aren't. The rest aren't. And this is almost unfair on Dillian Whyte. Normally, I would say, you know what, Dillian Whyte, you should fight Ortiz. And I've been campaigning for Dillian Whyte to fight Ortiz or POVETKIN. I think both of those fights are fantastic. Both of those fights are very risky. Both of those fights are 50-50. But considering what the other heavyweights are doing, I don't blame Dillian Whyte for taking on someone else, right? I don't blame Eddie Hearn for finding someone that we don't know, like what Tyson Fury did, and going that route. I don't blame him. The problem is, it's going to be pay-per-view. There's no 2 ways about it. Dillian Whyte will fight on pay-per-view. And Manuel Charr, I don't know, is that a pay-per-view fight? The UK fans do know Manuel Charr. I mean, he is an interim world champion, so he will be walking to that ring with a belt, but it's not a pay-per-view fight. The pay-per-view fights are POVETKIN or Ortiz. Neither of those guys have fights coming up. Neither of those guys have fights scheduled. We are running out of heavyweight opponents for Dillian Whyte, so he might be forced to do something he doesn't want to do, and that's fight Luis Ortiz. I say he, I mean management. I keep saying he, but I think of it as one. His management don't want that fight, people. You can quote me on that. His management do not want the Ortiz fight. Just because Dillian Whyte is almost betting on himself now. I said this when Dillian Whyte didn't take the Joshua fight. Was it really an option? I don't know. But I said this. I said he's betting on himself because if he wins these next couple of fights, then he's guaranteed a world title shot. If he doesn't win, he almost goes back to the queue again. He almost goes back to the queue. It's a tough one. Hence why I said decisions, decisions, decisions. If I'm Dillian Whyte, I don't listen to the public because the public are now screaming for Ortiz or Povetkin. And I do, again, what Tyson Fury has done and just grab a guy that is not lost, but that we don't know, right? That we don't know, that's been fighting on the very fringes, the very low European world level, and just beat him up and then have your big fight in December, if he gets one. If not, Ortiz and Povetkin are extremely dangerous. Trust me, people. Trust me when I say this. I know people give me stick when I say, Ortiz, what's Ortiz done? He passed the eye test. He passed it. Ortiz can box, people. Ortiz can box. And if anything's left of Povetkin, I mean, Povetkin's not going to be looking at Dillian Whyte with any fear. He's not. I mean, Povetkin got smashed by Joshua just because Joshua's just too fucking big and strong. Dillian Whyte isn't that compared to Joshua. He's a big guy, but he's not much bigger than fucking Povetkin. So, interesting times in the heavyweight division. Again, I do start to feel sorry for Dillian Whyte because, again, the other guys are taking the easier options and he might be forced to take the harder one. What do you guys think? Let me know. Peace.